Chris Economaki, in fact, did a piece for us about the shape of these cars, particularly the noses. Here it is.
For many years, the shape of the Indianapolis car reflected a single designer's thinking. Some had Coke bottle-shaped bodies, some had wedge shape, some were long, some were short. But with the advent of aerodynamics, the designs have become standardized. I'm standing with 3 of 1982's first-line cars. This one here, a March 82C that A.J. Foyt has chosen. Here, a Penske PC-10, Rick Mears pole-winning car. And here, a Wildcat 8B, chosen by 1973 winner Gordon Johncock. Let's take a look at the rear wings now. They're all essentially the same height, the same distance back from the car. The engines and turbocharger units are all mounted essentially in the same place in the car, towards the rear. Directly in front of the engine, about here, on all 3 of the cars is the fuel tank, as narrow as the center section and this high. It holds 40 gallons. No difference there. And the side pods on each of the cars come out, under which the ground effects treatment is generated. But then we get to the front, and here is where the designers differ. The Wildcat has, you might call it a screwdriver nose. The PC-10, a needle nose. And the March, well, a W.C. Fields bulbous nose. And the way the PC-10 has been running this year, it figures that next year, all the Indianapolis cars may well have needle noses.
Okay, Chris Economaki discussing the noses of race cars, but there's Johncock still in front. We have ourselves a story and an automobile race here today. Gordon Johncock leading. Remember, he won this race once. There's Mears making a move on him, side by side almost, but Gordy shuts him off.
I don't have to tell you how dangerous this is, Jim. 2 drivers, brilliant drivers, battling for the lead as they come up through slower traffic, unknown air currents moving around, both men trying to feel each other out. The race is getting fairly near the end. It's a very difficult situation.
This is automobile race driving at its best, and as you say, at its most dangerous. These 2 men, Johncock by far the more experienced at age 45, but Mears, a former winner at age 30 of the Indianapolis 500. Both of them former winners, each has won once. Johncock's victory slightly tainted in 1973 by the fact that the race was shortened by rain.
Very
there
different,
they are.
Very different in background. Mears with his off-road background. Gordon Johncock used to running 4-lap sprints on short ovals. So their whole way of thinking about racing is different.
But a lot of thinking going on in the race cars and the pits at this minute.
From Indianapolis, Indiana, ABC Sports continues its coverage of the Indianapolis 500.
Obviously, we've seen a lot of great racing in Indianapolis, but this is something special right now. Gordon Johncock continuing to lead in his light blue car number 20 with the red trim. In second place, Rick Mears in car number 1, the pole sitter, the favorite in the race. Johncock, well, he was in the middle of the second row, but there was actually more talk about his teammate, Mario Andretti, before the race began. But Andretti was knocked out before the green flag even fell to start this race. If you weren't with us, there was a crash triggered by Kevin Kogan in the middle of the first row before the green flag fell. It brought out the red flag. There was a delay of 45 minutes. Andretti was finished along with other cars. But there's his teammate, Gordon Johncock of the Pat Patrick Racing Team, out in first place, leading the Penske.
We spoke earlier, Jim, started to, about the pulse rate of these drivers.
Yes.
It's been measured, and often it's as much as 2 or 3 times what it would be at rest. They're
Really?
well-conditioned athletes, but I know my pulse rate when I'm racing is almost 180 versus about 50 ordinarily. So it's over 3 times for me. However, in spite of the pressure, top drivers are amazing for their ability to improve under stress, and this is stress.
Mears making the move again. Got side by side, and again, Gordon Johncock will not be overcome.
No, he has the speed at the top end. That is to say, at the end of the straightaway, he seems to have just a little bit more speed, which means strategically that he's going into the turn and making it tough for Mears.
Yes, the pit crew is standing by. Looks like we're going to have pit stops. They are vitally important from here on in. It could be the pit crews will make the difference because they must make another spot, another stop. There's no way they can go to the finish with the fuel they have.
Yeah, which is really a shame when you think of it, because this is classic racing. Look at Mears try to do that. He had a beautiful shot through the turn. He pulls out.
Maybe. battle side by side into the turn, and again it's Johncock maintaining his lead.
Oh, there's that power at the top end for Johncock. Mears couldn't have set him up any better, Jim. Slingshotted out of the turn, slipstreamed him down the straight, and then just couldn't get by him.
All of this before the eyes of some 350 to 400,000 live spectators.
Well, as you say, the pit stops are coming up. Of course, you got to keep in mind, they had a pit stop contest here a couple of days ago. Roger Penske's team won the pit stop contest, so it's possible that this small, infinitesimal deficit that Mears has. There's another great move by Mears. Look at that, side by side as they're coming down the straight.
But it's still Johncock in first place.
Landing for Mears. Jim, to see Gordon just ease away at the one point when Mears could maybe pass him.
Just a tremendous feeling of excitement here right now, and of admiration for the driving skills of two of the finest racing drivers in the world. You couldn't dare to do this unless you knew of your own skills.
Oh, and the skills of the other man, because now Mears knows Gordon Johncock is a great driver, so he's able to try things on him. He also knows he's an extremely determined man. So there's a lot of psychological play going on here as well, as they pass Johnny Rutherford, by the way, in that yellow car.
And no matter what you might think, these are not daredevils. These are not reckless men. My goodness, Gordon Johncock's the father of 5 children. Rick Mears has 2 small sons. They're married men. They want to come out of this race in one piece. If they can win it, fine.
I doubt if they're thinking about any of that right now, Jim. I've been caught up in battles, of course, never like this at Indianapolis, but all you think of is the driving, the man ahead, the situation that faces you in that split second.
Johncock looking in his twin rear view mirrors. He can see Mears every second of this duel. Mears, of course, watching him from the rear. Now Pancho Carter into the pits. Still running third in the race.
You know, as we see Pancho in the pits and know that pit stops are coming up for both these men, remember that all day long the handling of the cars has changed back and forth. Remember that problem that Gordon Johncock seemed to have with understeer, Jim? Where is it now? His car seems to be handling absolutely beautifully. If there's anybody in a little trouble, it's Rick Mears. So it's possible that in the pit stops they'll do something to the cars that will change the handling further. You know, in other words, the absolute match that we're seeing now may not continue when they come out of the pits.
And again, Mears setting up. No way this time. No, no.
Notice, though, Mears trying to run shallow. In other words, underneath Johncock so that he'll get a clean flow of air for his car. I mean, they're driving all over the track, high, low, everywhere. The cars are handling well, but they handle best when they're in clear air.
Tremendous aerodynamics here. Remember when we were in the pits before the race, we noted a little piece of transparent tape over the leading decal on Johncock's car. We asked the crewman why, and he said because at these speeds, the decal would be peeled right off by the force of the wind.
It is amazing. All right. Now there's the first step, okay, in the development.
There's Mears into the pits. He hit another car. That's Hearn Johnson.
Mears, that was a mistake. I wonder if it's damaged the car at all.
I don't know. We're going to see in a minute. He's into the pits.
That was
There's Sneva on his final pit stop.
That could really, all right, they're not working on the front of Mears' car. I thought, Jim, that he might have flat spotted that left front tire. There's Mears, but his tires look okay, or anyway, they're not checking them. That could be a mistake.
Sneva in car number 7, but up front it is Rick Mears, and here he goes again.
Oh, do you see that?
It's actually collided with another car, hit one of the rear tires of rookie Hearn Johnson. Gordon Johncock here, now the clear leader. But he'll have to come in for a pit stop, and that pit stop will almost unquestionably determine the winner of the Indianapolis 500. 15 laps remain in the 1982 Indianapolis 500, and this is the leader, Gordon Johncock, age 45. Winner in 1973. But he has one more pit stop to go. It must come soon. There is Tom Sneva in car number 7. Remember, Rick Mears had a problem, bumped another car coming into the pits, lost some time. There's Mears, just went out of your picture at the bottom. There's Sneva in car number 7.
Well, Johncock, obviously, a big story of how the last laps are going to be is going to depend on what happens when Johncock pits. Jim, we know already that Mears had an interesting time in the pits. He nearly hit, well, he did hit somebody coming in, but then he had a lightning fast pit stop.
Yeah, he did lose some time. The situation's really simple, isn't it, Sam? When he comes in for the pit stop, we'll watch it. If he gets back out on the track in front of Rick Mears, he'll be the leader. If he doesn't, Mears will take the lead. It's very simple.
Couldn't be any clearer than that. Sneva, who you see there, is not in contention for the lead.
Here he comes into the pits.
He too is being blocked. Johncock's being blocked.
Look at the move he made.
Yeah, roared by on the inside. That is a very gutsy move to make.
I would hope to tell you, that was another rookie, Jim Hickman, who was out there in the pits, and he had to pass between him on the inside and another car in the pits. Had to do a little chicane there.
Yeah, they're adjusting the front wing. Jim, his car seemed to be handling pretty well, but they did go for a front wing adjustment. Incidentally, that pass Gordon made coming in, absolutely legal. Dangerous, yes. Legal, yes.
Here he comes, easily out in front is Gordon Johncock. When he gets up to speed, we'll see exactly what his lead is on the race course. Gordon Johncock could be on his way to victory at Indianapolis. Laid back for quite a while, had problems early, but now he is the leader.
And there's no sign of Mears as Gordon's picking up speed down the back straight. He's almost up to speed now. You get your speed as you head into that third turn. So
okay, we've got the time difference. He's got an 11.5-second lead over Rick Mears. I don't know what Mears can do about that. Well, Jackie Stewart is still down in ABC Sports Race Central. This is of interest to him.
This story regards the entry to pit lane of Rick Mears and Gordon Johncock. In lap 182, Rick Mears did come into the pits, as we all saw, and he came in very quickly indeed. Perhaps a little bit too quickly. Very difficult for a race driver coming off at around 200 miles an hour to gauge the speed and the distance of the car in front of him. Look what happens to Rick Mears. Herm Johnson traveling slower. Suddenly Rick Mears locks up and hits him in the back end. Right there, that could have taken Rick Mears right out of the racetrack. Now, Gordon Johncock came in lap 186, and he was in a hurry also, but let's have a look at what he did. Gordy, remember, has been to Indianapolis 18 times. Rick Mears only 5 times, and right now experience shows. Look what happens, another slow car. And of course, for Gordy Johncock, suddenly takes the bull by the horns and goes up the inside. A pretty clever move on the time. Now, that little effort for Rick Mears probably cost him, perhaps 5 or even 10 seconds, but more importantly, it could have taken him out of the race right there. For more of the action, back up to Jim McKay and Sam Posey.
Okay, Jackie Stewart in his new function as the host down there in ABC Sports Race Central. There's the leader, Gordy Johncock. That very, very close racing of just a few minutes ago is not taking place now. He's got himself a good 10-second lead. May have dropped down a little bit. About 10 seconds over Rick Mears in second place. The man has to begin thinking about victory at this point.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's sensational to see Gordy leading this thing so close to the end, Jim, because of that very bitter and almost tragic victory that he had back in 1973, when instead of a victory dinner, it was a visit to the hospital to see his teammate and friend, Swede Savage, who'd been so badly burned in the race. Okay, well, here is the sign to Gordon that indicates that there's 10 laps to go at this point.
And that he's still 11 seconds ahead.
Yep, he's in very good shape. Evidently, whatever they did to the front wings, the car looks about the same.
Yep. Lull before the storm time, in that the finish will be a wild scene, jubilation, and yet he said he inevitably is thinking about it, but concentration almost becomes even more important. Now we got to report Mears has just gained 2 seconds on the last 2 seconds. Well, maybe Gordy's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, it's getting to the end. You wouldn't push too hard. Of course, he's going to lose a little time, probably, lapping the 2 slower cars. There's a good shot, Gordon, going off the bottom of your screen, and there's Rick Mears. Well, you know, he can see him now.
He's gotten 2 seconds on each of the last 2 laps, we're now informed. He's picked up 4 seconds. That might not be intentional on Johncock's part.
Yeah, it's hard to say. One thing in Rick's favor, just as I started to say, the fact that he can see Gordon, and remember, these drivers have incredible eyesight. Rick can easily see Gordon down the end of that long, long straightaway. That's incentive. That visual thing is quite important. You sight the enemy, and that's a little bit of the battle there, right there.
I'll tell you, you can now visibly see Mears is gaining. He's gaining kind of dramatically. But again, Johncock still may be cooling it. There's Penske. We'll be back.
The largest cash prize in sports is the purse of the Indianapolis 500. In 1981, worth $1,605,375.
And now there are less than 8 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. Jim McKay reporting with Sam Posey. There's the leader, Gordon Johncock. But the lead continues to shrink. And again, we can't be sure whether it's intentional on his part as he tries to be careful, or whether Mears is dramatically gaining on his own. Now, the lead was 12 seconds, then it was 11, 10. It's now 8 seconds. It was when there was 8 laps to go, just a few seconds ago. At the end of this lap, there'll be 7 laps to go. Still looks like it'd be about impossible to catch a man, unless he's having a real problem, which he does not appear to be. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Here are the two pit crews. That was Patrick on
7
the right.
laps to go. 7.
It is a classic confrontation, of course, between the two teams that battled at the end of last year's race. There's Penske and Patrick. They finished 1-2 last year in the great dispute. They're now running 1-2 toward the end of this race.
Sam, the lead is down to 6 seconds. Mears gained another 2 seconds on the last lap. What do you think now? I mean, would you be allowing a man to close in that much?
Yeah, I think I might. I don't think that's the end of the world. On the other hand, you got to realize that Rick Mears has been the fastest driver at the Speedway all month long. So, you know, that would give you pause. Okay, plus 7 with 6 laps to go. So what you're thinking, what Gordy is thinking right now is, well, I can give away a second a lap.
Our watch up here still showed 6 seconds, so it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. That was Dina Mears we were watching, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cheering her man on.
You know, I imagine she is incredibly nervous. Rick, neither of the drivers would actually be nervous. That isn't a feeling you'd have at this point. It would be full concentration. Nerves wouldn't really come into it. You learn how to control the nerves.
What this victory would mean to Gordon Johncock at age 45. He would, in fact, be the second oldest man ever to win the race. The oldest was Bobby Unser just last year, in fact, at age 47.
Well, there it is. You see them. They are
5 laps to go. Well, look at
surprisingly close.
Say, I'll tell you something. It's down to 4 seconds, Sam.
Yeah, all right.
Look at Dina Mears, his wife.
Yeah, and look at Gordy start to get right next to the wall. Jim, he's pushing it now. I mean, there's no question. He's not just paying out the lead. Mears, of course, I mean, as I said, he's been fastest all month.
It sounds like you may be changing your mind and thinking that Mears is gaining on his own and that Johncock is as flat out as he can go right now. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the way Gordy is driving, he's driving beautiful. Oh, Ziva.
Oh, this could dramatically affect it. If he gets any oil on the track, we could have a yellow and the race would finish just this way.
Yeah.
With Johncock the winner. There it is. Look at that. 4 seconds, as we said.
2 protagonist pit.
No yellow flag.
No, that's good.
4 laps to go. Sam, listen. It's 2.9 seconds. Mears is closing, and closing fast.
Yeah, he is. There's no question about it. He's able to take it incredibly. There's Johncock starting to take an unbelievably low line. I'm starting to wonder if Johncock's handling is all it should be, Jim, because that's not where he runs on the racetrack when everything is okay. He runs above the white line. I just saw him dip way down below it. He's doing it again. Oh, well, to make a pass there. Okay, but Johncock, I think, is behaving a little. He's really pushing it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Is there time left for Mears to catch him? Very, very doubtful. But it sure isn't over yet.
Well, there it is.
They give him 3.
There
We
it
get
is.
less than that. We get about 2.5.
Okay, I don't think.
Well, now, you don't need to measure seconds. You can see them.
You see it now. Will traffic be a problem? One of the Whittingtons is ahead of them at this stage. Remember, if Mears catches him, he's still going to have to pass him.
Sam, we've got a trophy dash to the finish line. If this stays this way, there's never been anything like it. The closest finish in the history of Indianapolis was in 1937, 2.16 seconds. There's Dina Mears. Her man is the man that's closing on the leader.
Yep. Look at Mears pour it on, Jim. I know when you're this close, I mean, you can reach out, you can feel that guy ahead of you. And look at Mears now. Here's Johncock taking a fairly moderate line, and Mears is catching him. Look at his speed off that turn.
I've never seen anything like it. There they go. 2 laps to go. There's time to catch him if he can do it. Rick Mears, his wife. The stopwatch, 0.63 seconds between them.
I don't have to tell you what's going to happen if he catches him. It's going to be, I mean, this is extremely dangerous business right here.
I don't think I've ever seen an open wheel car race with people this close at the finish.
No, and never so fast. I mean, these laps in the high 190.
Look at this.
Dina there. All right.
He may do it.
Yeah, he may. He's that close. Look at that shallow line.
They're going to get the white flag. There'll be 1 lap to go. As he moves along, Johncock. Is he going to do it? The white flag out. This is the final lap.
Going down into the first turn. What? No. Gordon held him off there going into that first turn.
Over the roar of the engines, you can hear the 400,000 people going hoarse.
All right.
No one has ever seen this before in Indianapolis.
This is the back straight, Jim. There's 2 turns to go now. Mears behind, and he's again trying to slipstream it.
Johncock did a good job of staying ahead of him in turn 1 when he made that move there.
Good. That
may
was
be
brilliant.
enough.
That was brilliant.
Not quite over. Johncock still with the lead.
Here it comes
Headed
again.
for the finish line.
Here it
He's
comes
still
again.
closing. That's his wife.
It's too late now. You only got to pray. Look at that.
Here you see them. Mears. Can he make a move at the finish? He's making a move. No. Not quite. Gordon Johncock has won the Indianapolis 500. He won it by less than a car length. Less than a car length after 500 miles. The disappointed wife of Rick Mears there. Wow. The jubilation in the pits, the Pat Patrick pits. Gordon Johncock has won it. He held on in the closest finish in the history of the Indianapolis 500. 66 races. Never anything like this. That's Roger Penske's wife, Kathy, consoling Dina Mears. Well,
what could you say to somebody after that?
I guess we did get carried away, Sam, but
well,
somebody else might be able to help it. I couldn't.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Jim, it's the victory of a great racing driver who made a great racing move.
Let's look at that finish again.
All right. Well, here is.
It looks like he's beaten at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Coming out of the last turn.
Yep. There's nothing but frustration there.
Now watch this. Making the move as they come to the finish line. There's Mears moving up, and it was just a little over a car length, about 20 feet. Let's go to Bill Fleming.
Car owner Roger Penske has just talked to Rick Mears. Rick, I know it's kind of tough even to concentrate. Have you ever been in a better duel than that?
No, I haven't. That was a good race. It really was. Gordy was doing a hell of a job. He had her everywhere but straight a couple of times, and I was trying my damnedest to get him, and I just couldn't do it.
Roger, what's your impression?
Well, I think it was good. Unfortunately, I guess we probably are the ones that should take the loss, not Rick, because on our last stop, they had a quicker time stop than we did. We stayed in a little bit longer and put Rick behind, and it was tough for him to catch that up.
Rick, I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot better than a year ago.
Yes, definitely. No complaints at all.
Sportsmanlike comment. The winning margin, 16/100ths of a second. The previous closest race, 2.1 seconds in 1937. That was Wilbur Shaw. Now to Chris.
Okay, Gordy, you're the calmest guy in victory lane. Those final laps were the finest racing I've seen in all my life. What were you thinking of when your mirror started to fill up with Mears?
Well, I was worried. I mean, let's put it that way. There was no question about it. I had to drive the car everywhere on the racetrack. I got into a pushing problem, you know, with about 10 laps to go. It's why he caught me so fast. And the more I went, the worse it got, and I just had to use up all the apron to be able to stay full throttle coming out of the corner to keep from driving into the fence.
What did you think of on the white flag lap when he pulled alongside right at the finish line? You think he had you there?
Well, I definitely thought so, but I knew there was one thing, that when I went down in the #1 corner, that I wasn't about to back off no matter what happened. If we went through there side by side, that's the way we'd go through there, but I wasn't about to back off.
Linda, what are you running through your mind by the second win of your husband?
I think this is the most wonderful day in my life, ever. Our wedding doesn't even compare with this.
Okie-doke. Gordy, #2, congratulations and continued good luck.
Thank you, Chris.
The wedding doesn't even compare to this day. Gordy Johncock's victory, looking down from the Goodyear blimp, the panoply of Indianapolis, in a race that will be in every history book of the sport of racing, no matter how long they keep writing them. Well, we're going to be back here. There are more details to wrap up, but Johncock is the unofficial winner.
Good evening to you. It's now close to 11 o'clock at night in Indianapolis. The race is over. Gordon Johncock, of course, has won this year's Indianapolis 500, and what a race it was. Well, from the very beginning, what a race. The accident at the beginning, and, well, we're so lucky that nobody was injured in that. Then the remarkable A.J. Foyt. 25 years at Indianapolis, going for his 5th victory, and at one time, it did look as if he could do it. Rick Mears, well, we thought he would dominate the race, and in fact, he didn't. He was having trouble for part of the time, made a great race towards the end, but of course lost it. At the end, it was Gordon Johncock who won the Indianapolis 500, probably with more forceful driving than this speedway has ever seen in the closing laps. As far as I'm concerned, it's probably the best Indianapolis, certainly that I've ever seen, and that most of this crowd could ever hope to see in the future. A remarkable automobile race, and one that I'm very proud to be part of. As I say, we're very much live now. We, of course, recorded earlier today the action that you've seen in this show, but right now we're going to have a look at the unofficial results. And remember, they are unofficial. Not until 8 o'clock in the morning do those become official. Last year, Bobby Unser's victory was taken away at 8 o'clock, but now it's unofficial. Johncock wins the Indy 500. Rick Mears finishes second on the same lap, and then Pancho Carter 1 lap down in 3rd position. You can see the position of Tom Snever. Al Unser, 3-time winner, finishes 5th. Don Whittington. Jim Hickman is the first rookie to finish. Johnny Rutherford, a lowly 8th for him. Herm Johnson, another rookie there. You can see it down to 11th position. Then Bettenhausen, Rabacki, another rookie, in 13th. Danny Sullivan crashed. He's a rookie, 14th. And then another Whittington back in 16th position. A.J. Foyt in 19th. Johnny Parsons did 92 laps. George Schneider, Danny Angeisen, Jerry Snever, brother of Tom. Another Bettenhausen in 26th position. Jeff Brabham, well, he's the son of Sir Jack Brabham in 28th. Mario Andretti way back in 31st, of course, that first lap accident. And there, Roger Mears and Dale Whittington finishing last. We're live here at Indianapolis. It's nearly 8 hours after the victory of Gordon Johncock. And first of all, Gordon, I would have to say many, many congratulations. It must have been tremendously satisfying, first of all.
Well, yes, it was, Jackie, very much so, the way we won the race especially.
After all these hours, have you had time now to come up or down, or where are your emotions after Victory Lane?
Well, I've really been so busy ever since it happened. I can't honestly tell you if it's ever sunk in yet or not.
Well, Gordy, in these last few laps, I had to remark to Jim McKay that I thought you were a tough wee man. Probably, as I said earlier, the hardest racing that I've ever seen at Indy. Did it feel that hard?
Well, yes, it did. I couldn't have asked for my car really to handle any better from lap 155 to 190, but after 190, I started pushing a little bit coming off the corners, and I had to really get down low underneath the yellow line several times to allow myself enough room coming out of the corners, and still at times I had to get back out of the throttle.
Well, many congratulations once again. Now you're a 2-time winner of the Indy 500. You're 45 years of age. Are we going to see you back again?
Definitely.
Good. Okay, so that's live at Indianapolis, Gordon Johncock, and for final words in this year's wonderful Indy